Okay, so we can start this workshop. Welcome to all of you in the room and to our online attendees, and thanks for joining us. We are here to discuss about the EU geographical island as leader of green energy transition. My name is Giorgio Bonvicini. I am from RINA, which is the largest Italian engineering consulting company, and we are involved in several European projects on island energy transition, and I will moderate this workshop today. So the agenda of the workshop is presented in this slide, so we will start with an introduction from my side, not specifically related to one of the projects, although a bit correlated with our NESOI experience on technologies and technology integration for energy transition of islands. Then we will have the NESOI presentation on capacity building and funding solutions. Then we will move to INSULAE, so NESOI with Cécile Barrère from R2M and Luigi Laterza from Sinloc. Then we will have INSULAE presented by Bruno Sodiro from RINA, where also investment-related topics will be touched upon. Then we will move more on technological aspects with the IANOS project presented by Eduardo Rodriguez. We will have the coffee break between 10:30 and 11. Then we will learn about the experience in Kitnos done in the Re-Empowered project presented by Petros Markopoulos from Daphne's Network of Sustainable Greek Islands. Then we will move to MAESHA project, again on technological aspects and specifically focused on MAEOT experience by Juan Varo Lopez from Creara. And we will conclude with the REACT project presented by Fausto Sainz Salces by Comet Global Innovation, more focused on small islands, pathway to energy transition. And I will briefly conclude the workshop together with the discussion of the results of a survey that we have for you, and I will show you at the end of my presentation. So I start my introduction. Why islands? As we all know, the European Commission is pushing a lot towards island decarbonisation and energy transition, since islands can be the good laboratory for the implementation of technological and non-technological solutions for energy transition that could be then replicated in the mainland, in the whole EU. Indeed, the island presents some specific features that make them ideal laboratory for this, such as high renewable energy potential, high resources potential, a strong sense of community. They are generally isolated energy systems, and they have issues such as high energy prices, which on the other hand make this solution cost effective. They have seasonality issues due to tourism. They have difficulties in access to finance, and so risks associated with investment are perceived as high, and generally they lack of local expertise. So leveraging on these opportunities and trying to tackle these barriers, we are working, all of us are working a lot on energy transition of islands. I will focus in the next slides on technology integration aspects. This is referred on our experience in the NESOI project, but it can be even generalized. We have availability of a wide range of technologies for energy transition of islands, so we have available a technology catalog. We know which are the island features and needs for energy transition and which are the stakeholder needs. Putting all of these aspects together, we can prepare a technology pairing, the portfolio of technologies that are most suitable for the energy transition of a given island. These pairings are pairings related to technology integration, to the specific technologies that are most applicable to each island, and to the technologies that are more suitable for projects to be implemented by specific stakeholders. Also, islands can be clusterized. When I was talking about the portfolios of technologies that are applicable to specific islands, we can clusterize islands. We know that in Europe we have more than 2,400 inhabited islands. We can clusterize these in large islands like Sardinia, Sicily, Corsica, Crete, Cyprus, we have medium-sized islands, and we have many small islands. Large and medium islands are generally interconnected with the mainland electricity grid, while small islands can be either interconnected or non-interconnected, and both interconnected and non-interconnected islands can be characterized by seasonal energy consumption, mainly due to the higher presence of people on the island due to tourism during summer, basically, or with a constant population and energy needs throughout the year. Then we can clusterize islands also based on additional criteria like latitude, orography, distribution of population in cities or in rural areas, economic activities, presence of industries, presence of agriculture, or mainly based on other activities like tourism and resources availability. This clusterization allows us to characterize the energy demand of the island, the distribution of the energy demand during the year, and on the other side, the availability of specific resources like solar, by latitude, suitability for example, for biomass if there is agriculture. Orography generally is correlated with the potential for wind and hydro as well. Population distribution and economic activities are related, for example, to the possibility of implementing solutions at city or district level, and energy efficiency and energy transition opportunities at industrial site level, etc. Moving to our NESOI experience, we have analyzed, you have the same slide, but this is just an introduction to say that we have mapped and the energy transition needs of islands, because we have organized in NESOI 2 open calls, and we have received 168 applications by European islands that want to implement energy transition projects. So we have been able to identify which are their needs, which technology they are adopting, how they are integrating one technology with the other, and one technology with a specific need of an island. Both from the analysis of these 168 proposals that we have received, applications that we have received, and from the deeper analysis of the 54 projects that we have really supported. I move quickly because Cecilia and Luigi later will talk you in detail about NESOI. What they will not present is related to the technology clusterization and the potential technology integration from one group of technologies with another. So we have clusterized technologies in 6 clusters. One is related to electricity production from renewables, and you can see the different technologies. Thermal production from renewables, and again, you can see renewable energy sources exploitation, as well as cogeneration and regeneration. Electric mobility, related both to vehicles, land vehicles, both ferries, and in both cases, the related charging infrastructure that is required. Energy storage, so both through batteries, pumped hydro, and also power to X, especially power to hydrogen. And in some cases, we are also talking about thermal storage, especially coupled with thermal production from renewables. We are also talking about upgrade of local public assets, like the electricity distribution grid, like public buildings, like public lighting, interventions in port, like cold ironing, so a short supply of vessels, of ships, of boats and ferries, and to conclude, energy efficiency, both in buildings and in industrial processes. Looking at the 168 applications received in NESOI, we have done this analysis that has also been presented in a joint paper between RIDA and Simlock, will be presented because the conference was postponed due to flooding in Italy, but the paper is ready. We have analyzed how these technologies are coupled one with each other. As you can see, here you have the main primary technology cluster and the secondary technology cluster with a number of projects that implement this specific coupling. As you can see, the most recurring couplings, technology integration, are related to production of energy from renewable sources applied to e-mobility projects, both, as I mentioned, for electric cars, buses, but also to electric ferries. The implementation of renewable electricity production system plus storage in different forms. So electric storage in order to increase the flexibility of the local grid, but also we have several projects focused on hydrogen and power to X in general. Then we have energy efficiency plus energy production from renewable sources, especially if implemented at site level, both in public buildings and in industrial sites or on energy communities that also fall under this category here. And to conclude, similarly to the previous one, interventions on local public assets plus production of renewable energy. To conclude, we can say that there is no specific standard solution for the energy transition of islands, but tailored energy planning and feasibility studies focused on the needs of the specific island need to be carried out. We have mentioned that islands are ideal laboratories for the implementation of solutions that then can be replicated on the mainland and can contribute to the whole EU energy transition. We have the technology couplings that I have mentioned that are the most recurring ones and are the ones with the highest potential. We should also mention that energy community have high potential, also leveraging on the strong sense of community that islands have, and also this solution also in form of both in form of energy communities and in form of positive energy districts. So basically, energy communities and sites that can export the excess energy they produce can be replicated on the mainland, are being replicated on the mainland. Even because they can increase the security of supply, mitigate energy poverty, and maximize the renewable energy production and self-consumption. And last but not least, we don't need to forget energy efficiency, since actions that are done typically in the mainland on building envelope, on heating and cooling, on lighting, on industrial processes, etc., are applicable also to islands, and generally they have higher benefits in environmental, energy-related, and economic terms. So this is the now. I am anticipating that we have a couple of questions for you, given also your experience in energy transition of islands. We are asking you by the end of the workshop, not now. Maybe you want also to listen what other presenters are telling us regarding energy transition of islands. We would like you to answer to these two questions, one related to the barriers that islands are encountering for energy transition, and the second one on the best suitable solutions in terms of technologies and also other kind of actions, financing actions, capacity building, policy related actions that can help unlocking the island energy potential for decarbonization and energy transition. I will show you again this later, but I kindly ask you by the end of the workshop to go to menti.com and use these two codes. So if you want to take the photo, otherwise I will show you later. I'll give you the opportunity to take note of these numbers. Thank you. So this is the end of my presentation. Thanks for your attention, and I invite Cecile and Luigi to the floor to present NESOI.
Right after you, Giorgio, you are such a good speaker.
Thank you, Cecile. Thank you.
So, the pointer?
Yes. The one? Yes. Please, Cecile, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Giorgio. So myself and Luigi are going to enter a bit into the details of the NESOI project. The NESOI project is aimed at supporting energy island transition project development. And we are there to propose technical assistance and to complement the technical assistance by a group of measures that bring opportunities for the project to develop, opportunities of cooperation, opportunities of training, opportunities of funding. So I will develop now the capacity building propositions that we design during the project, and which will enter into the detail of the funding solution. So you have seen first this map on in George's presentation. So this is a nice, really nice map to present, to show the coverage of the NESOI project. All these projects is 54 supported projects, so I don't have the same number of applications we have to.
Yes, there is tons of different.
But what is interesting to see that we have a lot of like Mediterranean projects, but we have also Northern Ireland projects. We try not to leave the Northern Ireland apart from our project, and we receive a lot of application from everywhere in Europe. So we have this 5 focus groups. So Giorgio introduced a bit this idea to cluster technologies by like main topics, and this helps us to like structure the technical assistance. And as well, it's a track, like 5 tracks that we continue to follow to organize the coaching activities. So before like designing the coaching activities, so this coaching activity, so let's say that the technical assistance was like the main activity of the consortium for 3 years. It's a 4.5 years project. And so for the last 1.5 years of the project, we are developing coaching activities that are there to consolidate the technical assistance, like capacity building, journey of the beneficiaries of the project. So, but before like designing something, designing an activity for stakeholders, it's better to like try to realize what do you have to use in your activity, what are the limits. So we made some like observations after the technical assistance. So for sure we had success stories, and we had really nice success stories. I think we have really like, I don't know, like we use like 15, 20 as a number of really like success stories, where we have projects that are really nicely developed because they have strong local involvement. So really like people in the islands that are really like doing a lot for their community, and they obtain social acceptance of like installing a wind farm, for instance, windmills, because of a kind of a long path, long journey. So it's really good to get inspired by these stories. So I'm just putting here Asipalia and Ila Rusa. I will go back to Asipalia later on, but really these are 2 out of like 15 or a little bit more success stories. Then our work plans of the technical assistants have in common the fact that people need a bit always the same. They need to understand the legal framework of their local context. They need to structure the energy planning, the energy transition planning, structure really like the plan, ask themselves the right questions. And they have often the need to like have unlimited technical-economic skills, but it's like cash flow modeling. So understand exactly what will be the cost, what is the level of revenue that they can expect from the project, and make sure that the project are not only like there because they have grants, but they are there because they can fly on their own in a certain number of years. And we have as well really conclude, and it was quite clear that the islanders inspire each other. So sometimes it's more difficult like to speak with your neighbor. So the neighbor island, they have a like difficult relationship with the neighbor, but they can really like exchange very nicely with an island that is 1,000 kilometers away or more. So it's important to really like connect in between countries and make them really like creating this community and exchanging best practices and lessons. So we have this coaching activity that we wanted to develop. So this is really with the mindset to have replication, to have the people able to develop a new project and go further with their own projects. And so we have here around this yellow bubble, I have like put the main activities that we are developing. So we are interviewing all the beneficiaries that receive the money to understand what they like, what they dislike in the technical assistance. We as well use their feedback to design a bit better the activities and the exploitation. At the moment, we have a second like run of interviews where we use the output of interviews to design the exploitation plan of our results. Webinars. So these webinars are organized by the focus group, and during this webinar, we present like 3 projects that have a success story, best practices, and we record this webinars and we make them available in this NESOI platform that you see on the right hand side of the slide. We will enter in details into this NESOI platform. And this e-learning material, so our e-learning material is all based on the deliverables of the project. So we have 54 projects creating a lot of deliverables, and we don't want people to like enter a 100-page deliverable. So we have a really huge effort of the consortium to like go back to the deliverables and simplify them, turn them into PowerPoints to make them like easy to to access. And this is as well, this learning material is on the NESOI platform. And I want here today to focus on a last like initiative that we had, that we named the Erasmus Short Study Tour Program. So I had the chance to coordinate this program. Someone has to take care of this. so I coordinated, and this Short Study Tour program was something that we had to organize after we realized that one of the activities that were planned in the proposal was not possible during COVID, that we had this Erasmus type of exchange, like binom, 2 persons like exchanging their experience. So we could not do this during COVID, so we had like a budget, and we needed to like propose another way to spend the budget and to make sure that it was useful. So I'm gonna focus on this Erasmus and tell you a bit what we have done. So what we wanted this program to be a capacity building effort, networking effort, and a replication effort. So we decided to propose 3 trips. So we approached 3 locations, and we asked if someone there could like host us. And we obtained in like the first hours after the mail was sent a big yes. So it was really like nice to see that people were really like motivated to receive us. So we had three hosts, and we wanted to have a trip, 2 trips in Southern Europe and 1 in Northern Europe. So these people, local people, they really help us a lot to design the program, to make it very like specific to a certain topic and to the island where we were hosted. So we wanted guests, so but we are spending European money, so we needed to open a call to have a competitive like process, and we received 44 applications, and we selected 30 persons. Then we had a few cancellations, and at the end, altogether, we trained 27 people. So these people were like, so they sent their application, and they were offered a grant of 800 to 1,150 euros, depending the location where they were themselves located and where the trip was organized. And I think I'm giving these numbers because it's important to realize that this the whole activity is not like a big deal in terms of budget compared to the project budget. And for the impact that it has, and the positive impact that it has, it's really worth like, thinking about a replication of this in other island countries. And so the guests received a grant, and the host had we made available 300 euros per host. And this cost was there to cover like site visit, transportation, and catering. And so, thanks to this big effort, and here I selected just a few logos of the consortium because really that was super helpful to organize all this. We could like create these 3 trips. So we went to INSULAE, we went to Sicily, to Messina, to be more precise, and we went to the Orkney Islands, north of Scotland. So here at the bottom you see the host. So in INSULAE we were hosted by Daphne and the INSULAE municipality. We have a Daphne, and forever thankful to Daphne because it really helped us to have a great program on the INSULAE Islands. In Sicily it was the Port Authority of the Strait, so a lot less technical, but they like partner with CNR and ENEA. CNR is a research ministry of Italy, and ENEA is an energy company. So they really like had a really nice as well technical program here. And the third host is the European Marine Energy Center, so a center that is really focusing on marine renewable energy testing. So they are like at first offshore testing tidal and wave big like pilots, let's say pilots. So you see at the top of it the topic. So really we had 2 topics per destination. And this was just enough to develop a program that could cover different aspects. So we wanted knowledge sharing workshops, so between the people that were the guests were exchanging between themselves. They were as well exchanging with the host, who were really like skilled, like Daphne and CNR. We had site visits, we had intervention from experts and institutions, and a really nice social program with a lot of good food. So everything was really in place. It was like a 3-day program to create a really nice chemistry between the people, and really people started to really discuss in depth like the problem that they have, the solutions that others had found, and it was really nice. And so each trip, the whole budget is about it's less than 15,000 euros. So 15,000 euros is not so much for this type of activity. There is a little bit of like co-funding, because when you come from Madeira to Astipalea, maybe the 1,000 is a little bit short, but very little at the end. Almost everything was funded by the court. So I have one slide on the really specific moments that I wanted to highlight. This was in Astipalea, and we were invited by, so here is the mayor of Astipalea, here is the boss of Daphne, and here is Petros. And so these people here are like citizens from a settlement named Maltesana. So in Astipalea, you have Cora, the main like city, and you have a lot of like scattered group of population. And so Cora has already it's energy community, but the mayor, he wants to create other energy communities, and he wants people to understand what he tried to do, you know. So what we did was we were all the groups, so the 10 guests plus the NESOI partners following. And here you see Pablo from Ila Arosa and Hugo from Crest. So 2 persons that have developed on their own island an energy community with success. And so they were explaining what the path that they had been through, and they were translated in Greek by Petros and by Kostas. And this was really special, because the people, they were really like opening big ears and big eyes, listening at these people. Pablo is particularly generous, and so he even proposed to offer to them some PV panels and send them ship them to the island. During the night after this meeting, Pablo translated the leaflet in Greek, the leaflet he has in Spanish, for them to understand what he was doing on the island. So really a nice moment. There was a third speaker with an energy community, Dimitris from Crete. So really like a Greek example. So it was very nice, very impactful, and really I wanted to show what type of specific magic can happen when you organize this type of workshop. So I'm just introducing the issue of the language, because you see in this consultation we were translated. So it's very important that all these best practices are translated. We need to have them in different languages. So here I'm having this slide showing to you that we are working on an application guidebook that will be as well available through the platform. And so it will explain what you have to put in place to start to develop your project, basically, based on these 15 best stories that we have. And it's translated in Italian, in French, in Spanish, in Croat, and in Greek. So this is, I think, needed as well to consider when you work with islands, that people are not English speakers. So my last slide, just a short introduction to show you a bit what the platform looks like when we enter, when you are logging. So it's really, this platform is for us a one-stop shop for islanders. We want them to enter, to log in, to find their project for inspiration, to find their support through the e-learning material, and to find funds. And this is my transition to Luigi, who will deep dive in this functionality specific to fund matching. So there is this QR code on the side that you can scan to start working the platform. It was launched last week, so we have already populated it with the 54 projects that we have in the project, and it's ready for you to upload your own project, and you will see, Luigi will explain you what it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Cécile. So after the introduction on the technologies and what we do to make island people aware of this technology and of this solution, now you will tell us who can give us the money to do investment.
Thank you, Giorgio. Morning, everyone, and morning to our also online attendees. So now, going, as I said, as we already anticipated, let's say a bit what is the topic, which is funding solutions. Because at the end of the day, what we have seen, lessons learned of the project is that funding is really one of the main concerns of islanders. Of course, where given the difficulties of the territories, given the fact that the projects are also quite peculiar, and this is, of course, one of the reasons why one of the pieces of our technical assistance to help islanders to get closer to funding, get access to funding, or if funds were already available, on the other hand, try to shape a project that could be impactful and that could be bankable as well. So moving forward, of course, this is a very it's a broad introduction about what the goal of our facilities are, so I'm going to be very fast about this slide. We have goals concerning, of course, in terms of, let's say, we have goals in terms of CO2 emissions, of energy, decrease of energy consumptions, of course, reduction of CO2 emissions, but also in terms of activating investment. The goal is of activating 100 million investment at the end of the project, even though, of course, we have activated during the course of our technical assistance a pipeline of project that is able to go also beyond this target. And of course, we contribute in this way to the targets of the new Green Deal and to the decarbonisation strategies until the year 2030 and 2050. This graph was also partly, let's say, anticipated also by Giorgio. Just to once again repeat how diverse the technologies that we have dealt with are. This means, of course, that there are different needs in terms of depending on, of course, on the position of the island, so where geographically this is located, but depending also on the maturity of the project and on other, let's say, on a few other factors. We have grouped our initiatives, or the project that have received from us have been grouped into these three level of maturity. As you can. It's quite clear from this graph that how really most of the investments that we have supported are really in the early phases of their development, meaning that this can mean that, or at least in most of the cases, this has been related to the development of clean energy transition agendas or other energy transition plans, for example, concerning mobility as well. While the conceptual design level is a bit more, let's say, the conceptual design level, on the other hand, is an intermediate stage, let's say, where we have developed our beneficiaries in the, for example, aspects related to the feasibility of the whole project. So in many cases, they started from an idea, of course, of where they wanted to get, and they had, in some cases, also conducted other activities previously to receiving our support. But this is still, let's say, but on the other hand, they were also not immediately ready, let's say, for accessing funding or for discussing funding about the project. So this has to be shaped in a way that this could be, let's say, feasible. And on the other hand, the smallest, let's say, portion shows the deployment projects. So projects that are ready to be to the tendering phases, or that should be supported in the last phases of getting funding. So this is just showing that if we couple the technology needs as well as the funding needs, we have a quite heterogeneous picture, as you can see, where, of course, there is not only where, of course, also the optimal solutions are very. There's not one optimal solution, as also the previously was saying, but we need case by case to, let's say, work on what is the most optimal outcome. So let's say respond to this heterogeneity of technology and funding necessities, we have developed, of course, our project has provided assistance in different, as you can see here, phases of project development. So from the very strategic planning and very early stages until the stage of project design. So and when we say that, we mean the bridging, let's say, the last steps and discussing, of course, also the feasibility aspects in order to get or to access funding that could have been already granted or that we have to look for as well. In between, let's say, there is this, which is the number, with number 2 in this slide. There is also the activity of developing feasibility studies and business planning. So quite a heterogeneous, let's say, which comprehends a high number, a variety of initiatives within. So now, going a bit more deeper into discussion concerning funding. As you can see, the analysis of the financial needs that we conducted within our technical assistance has shown how that there is indeed a huge funding gap that, of course, but this is quite obvious. I mean, this is exactly, let's say, the challenge, or one of the challenges that we knew we were going to encounter when developing this project. It's also quite easy to see from the graph that the funds missing concerning the project's development on small islands, which face the highest barriers, of course, when trying to develop projects. It can mean the lack of expertise locally, but it could also be the fact that given that there is no maybe other initiatives that was already previously conducted or previously planned. So this means that, of course, when we work with small islands, we know that the challenges that we have to overcome are of course, way more significant. Of course, it's not that in other cases there are not challenges, but as you can see, the more the size of the island increases, and the more is not easier, but it's likely that these organizations, whether they are municipalities, whether there are public companies or others, have easier access to funding. And so this is a bit, let's say, the challenge that concerning funding we have to overcome. How did we do this? First of all, we know that we are at the beginning of the 21-27 European financial framework. We know that let's say funds are starting to only now to be, let's say, deployed locally. And we have conducted, of course, a mapping of all the allocations of funding. This is not meant to be like a comprehensive map of all the funding available, but for concerning the islands and the regions where we have supported the projects, we have seen that despite the funding availability, only a few portion of them can actually be eligible, let's say, for islands. So if we consider, for example, the fact that some of the funds might be allocated to projects that are deemed as relevant by regional local authorities, or because of the fact that some of them might be, let's say, related or allocated towards funding bigger initiatives. We know also that the fragmentation of investment, the fact that they're very small, is also quite relevant when we try to access funding. We have, and this is concerning the first chart. The second one, on the other hand, shows the funds that was already insured by typology, and we can see that quite heterogeneous, let's say, composition of this chart. But we can see that not only European as well as national funding lines are available, but also that or actually in some of the cases also private funding can be an option. This depends on many things, but most importantly, I would say, on the level of maturity that the project has. So we know that the more at the entry level, the more maybe also the higher also the innovative content that the project aims to deploy, and the less likely it is that the project is going to be funded through private money or venture capital, because we know that for those kind of entities there is a high attention towards, of course, in ensuring that the cash flows are regular and predictable, let's say, which is not necessarily the case for entry-level projects as well as for innovative projects. The more the initiatives start to be, let's say, now in a more mature stage, so the more we know, the more we already are aware of the technological solution, the legal aspect, the governance aspect as well, that is quite, we got to learn is quite a relevant aspect, and the more it is likely to be funded also by private resources or resources that present, let's say, market conditions. One aspect that I have just mentioned was also the governance aspects, because we know that we have seen, you've seen previously the map, so you know that how really various our project landscape was, and we have seen that. I'm from Italy, for example, so let's say that we are used to projects conducted by municipalities, so where the municipality is the main actor and is the actor that is also in charge of maybe looking for funding. But we have seen that, of course, this is not always the case, and also that community and community organizations are also, especially in Northern Europe, very active on developing their projects themselves and also trying to look for funding themselves. So although, of course, this governance structure is not really, let's say, adds to the challenges that are already there when trying to get funding, because these are not entities that are necessarily, let's say, deemed as strong enough maybe to receive some private capital or even to apply for national funding. So this is also one of the aspects that we have had the opportunity to see for projects. Given of course that we are in the last months of the project, and that we are still, technical assistance is still ongoing, but we have also trying to work on the fund matching part. So we are trying to, in the last months of the project, interact with the financial institutions to see from them what is the what is funding availability, and how can these how can our projects try to access them. What we have seen is that, of course, these are aspects that we kind of already, let's say, knew previously, but we have been, this interaction has confirmed that these aspects are indeed very relevant. So the first is that the critical mass of the project, initiatives that are too small in their capital expenditures are less likely to be funded. We know that, but we also know that it's very difficult to aggregate initiatives and to, let's say, shape more impactful projects. So this is one of the let's say problems that we have met. The responsiveness. So we know that the new financial framework is being deployed, and we know also, for example, in Italy and also in other all the European countries, the Recovery and Resilience Facility poses a very strict and tight timeline, and so the need is the one to anticipate the moment when funding will be available, so that the project will be ready beforehand. And this is a challenge that normally also is not an aspect that is in some cases quite overlooked. While anticipating the funds, so having the project ready before the funding is ready, is a critical success factor, as we have seen. Continuous dialogue with institutions to interpret the evolution of the regulatory framework. Of course, we know that regulatory framework is an issue as well, and this dictates a lot on the feasibility of the project, on when it will be ready. This is quite relevant in more innovative, for example, initiatives that we have seen. And so trying to be updated and try to understand, of course, what the context might look like, and gives you an opportunity to understand and to detect beforehand also where the funds is allocated. And this leads to our last point, which is the, let's say, one of the lessons learned. I would also say that the technical assistance might be really a powerful tool to activate projects and to activate funding, because we see the technical assistance as really as a powerful tool to bridge the gap between project and funding. So between studying the feasibility, studying the technical, the legal, the financial aspects, the social and environmental also as well, on the one hand, but also matching them also with the criteria and with the requirements that are dictated by the national or by the public or by the private also funding authorities. So yes, this is the last point that I would emphasize concerning funding. Now, a quick remark also concerning the NESOI platform, which is an activity that's reconducted within also not just the capacity building, but the other activities that we are deploying beyond technical assistance to make sure that we also, let's say, improve in general the island, the environment related to shaping energy investments on islands. This is meant to be a connection point between promoters, between financial technological providers to facilitate interaction and ensure also and make the process of course, make them meeting them and facilitate also the interaction among them and facilitate the reachment maybe of an agreement between the shaping of the new project. So, of course, the picture, of course, is not let's say updated as you can see, but this is a bit kind of the interface that you can see. You can upload the project. So first, just a few introduction. So this platform is a place where we can everybody first of all can log in and can upload their project idea, their project initiative. We have the smart matching component, you see, which is one of the core components of the platform, where if you want to upload the project, you can find a matching also with the financial opportunities that are also there uploaded. So this, in this sense, it helps, of course, the project to be more to be more feasible and to be, let's say, deployed with the help of the existing funding opportunities. The matching is set according to 7 parameters that are not only technical but also concern of course, the starting, the end period of the project, as well as the estimated value, and as an important point also the taxonomy alignment of the project, which we know as becoming a key aspect for banking authorities especially. So this is the first, let's say, smart matching component, and the other from, of course, the e-learning that Cecile just mentioned. There is also the crowdfunding component, where with the help of external platforms, we are trying to give more visibility to projects that are conducted on islands. And so it's possible also for the normal citizens or private investors to log in and to, let's say, decide to invest their own money, their own funding into these projects. We are now working also on improving other functionalities, especially the. Sorry, one small remark. Another aspect that we're trying to work on is to build like constructive environment where it's possible also to where financiers, technological providers, and project promoters as well can meet and can interact directly concerning, of course, the aspects that need to be developed of their initiative. The platform is now up and running. It has been launched a few days ago, so it's possible to log in, and we of course recommend you to do so by logging from the NESOI website. And Yeah, I would say this is pretty much it for our presentation. So I'll give the floor back.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Luigi and Cecile. Is there any question from the audience, even online? Okay, it seems not. So I invite my colleague Bruno Sodiro from RINA to present the INSULAE project. Please, Bruno, the floor is yours.
So, good morning, everyone. My name is Bruno Sodiro. I'm a project manager from RINA Consulting, and I'm the exploitation leader of INSULAE project. INSULAE project is an Horizon 2020 project, financed under the call that was looking for the decarbonisation of the UAE islands. Our consortium is integrated by 25 partners. The coordinator is Circe from Spain, and then we have Artelis from France, who is the developer of the investment planning tool, which is our main care in the project and one of our most exploitable, let's say, assets that I will present today. And then we have CERT, which is the replicator leader, because as Giorgio was saying, one of the key points of this project of islands is like to create replication pathways that can be applied in all European islands. And as I said, RINA as exploitation leader. So a little bit of the geographical overview. We have 3 lighthouse islands where we implement several use cases. And then we have the follower islands that mainly they will replicate the utilization of the IPT, the investment planning tool, but also the use cases that we've been developing in the lighthouse islands. The replication, it would be, let's say, do it on the islands, but it would be at a more technical, feasible level if those replications can be done. So as you can see, we have these 7 use cases, which try to cover different aspects of the energy system, but also different approaches, like, for example, the local bio-based economies in Bornholm, which is creating this environment through the utilization of biogas in the island and different pathways of the utilization of the CO2 produced by the biogas, or the implementation of biogas in the energy grid, or also in the production of feedstock. But as I said, I will mainly focus on the investment planning tool. The investment planning tool, it's a web-based tool that Artelis has developed based on other projects that they've been implementing in Europe. So their back-end structure is the Artelis Crystal Supergrid tool, which is a tool that has already been implemented, is deployed in the market, and is being used by the European Commission already. It allows to model an energy system and all the assets interconnected in different points, and then to run simulations based on a pathway that you can decide based on your targets. For example, in this case, it's an island or for an energy system. You know, like at the end, islands are kind of geographical islands are at the same time isolated systems. So it's the potential for the development planning tool in this case is for islands, but the idea is that we can recreate even isolated systems that are not connected to the grid, or they are fully connected to the grid. So as I said, it has different features. The idea is to support mainly policy makers and decision makers of the island. So the interface tries to be really user friendly, because it tries to avoid all the difficulties for people that is not very related with the technical aspects. So you can see over there, that is the island of Madeira. You can represent the whole energy system, and as well it has a great potential because it allows you to represent every type of assets that you may have, not only from the electrical point of view, but also other energy covers as hydrogen or thermal or also biogas. So you can really create all your energy system, but not only related to the electricity. And then at the same time allows you to see the current state of the island and to run simulations on the energy system and compare them with specified KPIs that has been defined during the project, and they allow to get this comparison through all the European Union. So the address challenges, as I said, it's a web-based solution that runs on the servers of Artelis that has like a lot of experience in these kind of tools, and allows a multi-phase, multi-user interface. So this means that many users could be sharing their experiences from using the IPT, and they could benefit from each other to see how one island have approached the pathway of decarbonizing in 10 years, implemented a series of technologies. So these are a very good asset. We are the last phase of the IPT, so we expect that for the final event, all these aspects will be shown. But the idea is to create this collaborative space between islands of the US, so they can see how each other being applying different solutions of our approach. As I said, another thing is the operation value, because it has this multi-energy approach to recreate the whole island energy demand or energy vision as well. And this multi-energy tool, it gets being web-based. It gets updated all the time with new technologies that are coming into the market. For example, at the time when INSULAE started, we didn't consider much technologies such as hydrogen storage or thermal storage, but those technologies can be recreated, for the tool, and can be integrated. And actually they've been to, as we don't have any, for example, hydrogen storage in the island as a use case, but the option to include it is there. And it has business value because also when you run the simulation, you will have the opportunity to see how the pathway you apply or the decisions that you take. You could analyze them through a cost-benefit analysis that we've been applying to each lighthouse island, and getting from there the conclusions and try to see which were the best parameters of the most related parameters that could be included in the tool in order to assess the decision making. Okay, so this a bit more of what I was saying before. Said, okay, the library of intervention. This another potential of the tool is a library of intervention. So you can not only say, okay, I would like to invest on PV or wind, but for example, if you would like as an island to increment the number of electric vehicles, or if you would like to invest in a hydrogen ferry, so you could see how your island at the current state could support that decision, or what would be the investment you would have to do on your energy system to be able to have kind of a development. For example, in Madeira, they are aiming to increase the quantity of electric vehicles in the island in order to decarbonize road transport. So the IPT have gave them that they should increase the capacity in a few islands, mainly on PV, but also in wind, according to the conditions and the pathway they have stabilized. So this a bit of this work on island. The Iceland modeling assistant allows you to, as I say, recreate all the whole energy system and then run the simulations given the data. Obviously, you have to import data to the tool because the library it has mainly certain parameters that have to be adjusted to every specific of the island. It's not that the tool is, let's say, it's offline in the sense it's not monitoring the island. It's just you have to recreate it with raw data. You have to give it to the tool, but it analyzes and displayed in a way that mainly everyone can understand. You can say you can see this one here. You can recreate the whole energy demand or supply, but from different inputs. So you can see how the island is behaving through a month or the time period that you would like with different, let's say, energy sources. So that allows then when you, for example, put a pathway or an intervention that usually, as you can see also here, islands are interconnected to the mainland. So, for example, if your pathway would be in 10 years to cut the supply from mainland, you can see with the pathway of renewables that you have, how that could impact on the whole energy system and the decision that you would like to perform. So, and the scenarization, it's those ones. You create a pathway, you import that pathway also, and then you run the simulation and analyze how they will match with your expectations, coming obviously from a baseline. So the potential of the tool is quite high. Another good point is that the tool will have a constant support because it would be property of Artelis. But the idea is in the upcoming years to have let's say, replication strategy that goes beyond the project and allow many more islands to use the IPT at a fair price and that would support to understand and to create an added value for the European Union. So that would be all.
Thank you, Bruno. Is there any question regarding the INSULAE project? Please, Cecile.
So for the exploitation plan of the platform, I see it could be a tool proposed on the NESOI platform. But what is your
actually, the exploitation strategy, we as exploitation leader, we are talking a lot with Artelis, which is the main one, because actually they've been putting a lot of effort on and they would like to have the tool as a commercial, on a commercial level at the beginning. Not at the beginning, once it runs all the validation, which we've seen due to the pandemic and then the replicators, we've been a little bit delayed, but we expect it. Of course, it's a decision from them because they have the total ownership. But we've been pushing also with the coordinator to use it in a more open way.
I think especially what we can do is to publish maybe studies done with this tool on the NESOI platform in order to gather finance and investors willing to invest on this solution. So it could be useful. And I also think it would be useful to apply this tool to the mainland, I mean, to positive energy districts or similar.
Yes, that's the point, because you actually can cover every geographical space. It's not only island, as I say, isolated or whatever.
Really interesting. Thank you. You have a question about this?
For the presentation, I will present next on the civil project. So that's why it's interesting. So just wanted to know if on the follow islands within the project, their involvement is mainly focused on providing them preliminary access to the IPT, or will they also look into the actually use cases implemented and trying to check which technologies make sense for them or.
Yeah, actually, the replication strategy is on two levels. One is on the IPT, so they've been like gathering all the data needed to, as I said before, to recreate and to see which is the current state of the island, validate how this data has to be put. But at the same time, we've been doing replication studies, I mean, the assessment of the replicability potential of each follower island for the other use cases. So we have identified at the moment, for example, islands like Menorca, they have islands like Menorca, they have a replicability potential for a few, for example, the use cases that were developed in UNIGE. So we've been assessing however the possibility of include this, for example, energy community through the IoT or 5G or the smart control of water and energy. So at the moment we are assessing the last part. The idea is like to have this two deliverables at the end. One would be the use of the IPT on the follower islands. The other would be the replicability potential and recommendation for policymakers to implement the other use cases. But as I said, the potential in INSULAE is the IPT because it will allow many other islands to test quick, let's say in a quick manner, how they could implement or invest in the future. The other use cases, actually, we had a problem. Use case one, it hasn't been implemented because of tendering issues and also due to the pandemic in between. Then we have use case 6 and 7, which have a lot of difficulties to be finished, but it's Electricidad of Madeira. They think the future they could keep moving on few of that, and we have really good results on Bornholm Island, which have been really ahead with the action. So the use cases it's been a bit difficult, but the IPT we expect for October to have the official launch with the final event. That's all.
Thank you, Bruno.
Thank you.
I think you have mentioned also some barriers that islands are encountering to this kind of investment that could be useful for your answer to this. So we move to the next presentation, which is on IANOS project, and will be by Eduardo, the project coordinator. So
We have some problem with the source.
yeah, it seems so. Wonderful.
You can select those slides and choose. We already had the same problem yesterday during the session, so that's why I'm pretty familiar with the solution.
To apply the same solution.
It was not me, but I will try.
Otherwise, we can anticipate another presentation and then
It's not editable. Can you help us, please?
I think yesterday the same problem. That's maybe what
We need to go one.
yeah, one by one.
yeah.
Okay.
I propose that we anticipate the next presentation, and in the meanwhile, you can create a PDF of this, and we can use the PDF after the.
Don't worry.
Thank you,
Sorry for that.
Eduardo. Sorry for the inconvenience. We will do it later, no problem.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So, if it's okay for the next speaker, who is Petros.
This is on fine, but I think there's
With the time.
yes, I mean,
Yes, it's 25. So, okay, we can stop now, go for the coffee break, and then be back at 11, and we start again with the right order. So, Eduardo with the presentation in PDF, please, and then Petros. Okay. Thank you very much, and see you in a while.
Thank you.
let's resume our session. So I'm Eduardo. I work at EDP, Portuguese utility, and we're really proud to take the opportunity on developing a project dedicated to the decarbonisation of geographical islands. So briefly on the context, let's say that, and for the last couple of years, we have been traveling to our lighthouse islands and met islanders, and I would say they are like the Rigatibus de Gaulois, because they really need to cope to really tough environments, harsh climate conditions, but they stick to their islands, and for once in a while it's good to have them on top of European Union priorities when it comes on decarbonisation. So that's what we are promoting there. IANOS is mainly approaching the decarbonisation of geographical islands towards energy transition, mainly based the entire concept on smartification and optimized management of the electrical power systems in geographical islands. So as you know, and in previous presentations we already addressed it, these power systems have particular contexts, so they are pretty sensible to frequency instability due to low inertia, but they do have an insane potential for renewable energy integration. So I will say that the key word, not only for IANOS, but for a lot of different projects aiming to tackle these decarbonization problem in geographical islands from a system operator perspective, that key word will be flexibility. And that's what we are aiming to achieve within IANOS. So really harvesting of flexibility throughout the entire segment of the electrical power and energy system. So IANOS is a project keen to develop those solutions on smartification, orchestrated coordination of distributed energy assets and renewable energy sources in geographical islands. So in a glimpse, general overview of the project. So the project started in 2020. It's a 4 years project. Will end by next year. We were funded in this call, so we are like following the steps of projects like INSULAE, and we have really 34 partners from 9 European countries in the consortium. And what happened in the IANOS will be mainly linked to our 2 lighthouse island demonstrations in Ameland and in Terceira. Ameland is, I'll go to that, but Ameland is an island in the Netherlands, and Terceira in Azores in Portugal. And then we also have 3 fellow islands, Lampedusa and NESOI in the Mediterranean cluster, and then Bora Bora in French Polynesia. So our concept is mainly based or leveraged, our entire framework is mainly leveraged by this approach on transition tracks. We have 3 TTs on energy efficiency and grid support for extremely high RES penetration scenarios. Then the decarbonization through electrification and support from non-emitting fuels, and empower local energy communities. So this is one topic that is straight to the heart within this context of sustainable places. And we do have an approach on that, but again, our main goal is to harvest and leverage upon flexibility provided by energy communities to help alleviate the stress of managing really sensitive power systems in islands. So these 3 transition tracks frame overall the 9 use cases we are promoting. So, and sorry, so you don't see the entire slide because we needed to change it to PDF. We struggle with the font. But yeah, so briefly, 9 use cases are mainly linked to self-consumption maximization, optimal dispatch and intraday services, storage use for fast response ancillary services, demand-side management, support power quality, congestion management. Then within transition track number 2, we are mainly aiming to advance on decarbonization of transports, large industrial continuous loads. Then also take a step into circular economy, mainly explore use of waste streams and gas decarbonization. and also decarbonize heating networks. This last use case is mainly linked to the needs from Amland in the Northern Sea, and then active citizen and local energy communities engagement. So these are the main objectives of the project. So I've been explaining sort of the context and our drive, but what we committed to with the European Commission is mainly linked to these 5 objectives. So facilitate seamless adoption of extremely high-res penetration scenarios by proposing these intelligent virtual power plants, orchestrating and optimally coordinating different energy assets and renewable sources in the islands. Then demonstrate specific technology-driven interventions. We have both software-based and hardware-based technologies fully integrated with the IVPP, and that will be, let's say, easy the path to implement the different use cases we design. Then also guide, obviously, EU islanders, decision makers in design cost-effective and feasible action plans. We also have an entire work package dedicated to use cases design, but also what we call the decarbonisation master plans for the lighthouse islands and the fellow islands. And then engage EU islanders in transition towards a low carbon economy. And this, let's say, is the objective, mainly framing our approach to local energy communities and also to the industry sector, and obviously ensure our replicability potential for IANOS results, since we are a lighthouse project on this subject. So briefly on the impacts or expected impact, since we are now the middle of the project, we are just concluding the deployment and installation. So we'll be starting with the monitoring and demonstration activities in the next couple of months. So our aim is to contribute strongly with our technologies and with our approach to reduce significant fossil fuel consumption, contribute to large scale uptake of validated solutions. Most of them, especially the solutions that we will deploy in the residential sector, we pre-validated those solutions in relevant lab environments. So they were obviously accepted at factory tests on the technology provider side, but also we kind of emulated the expected environment on the use cases in lab. We had at least 2 labs dedicated to test these different solutions before actually sending them and deploying them at the end user premises. Also facilitate the creation and or increase the number of renewable energy communities in both lighthouse islands. On this approach, we had a huge engagement process in Amland, because it's an island where they already have different approaches to include citizens in energy policy makings. So in Amland, we will most probably reach more than 800 end users. And in INSULAE, where we are actually deploying technology in a social neighborhood, our target was 40 end users, where we deployed different models of PV panels, residential batteries, electrochemical and heat batteries, and everything orchestrated within the end-use premises by home energy management systems. And lastly, announce the stability of power networks. As I told you, flexibility, harvesting, and coordinated management of assets are our driven approach towards decarbonization on the islands due to their sensitivity in terms of frequency and so on. So going now to our lighthouse islands. So this is Amman, located in the Western Frisian archipelago in the Netherlands. They have a population of 3,000 people. And their legacy energy assets that we are exploring are mainly solar farms, battery energy storage systems, and distributed generation, mainly PV. They have particular characteristics. So Amman is a geographical island, but they do have a connection to the Netherlands. Obviously, they want to become more independent on that connection, and this is a common pattern in our lighthouse islands. we are speaking of two lighthouse islands, pretty sensitive to seasonal population distribution. So in summer months, due to tourism, both Terceira and Amman feel the population rising. So in case of Amman, they do have this strong dependency of the link they have to the mainland, and other particularities from Amman. So they struggle to manage, for example, the waste stream within the island. They don't have technologies to treat waste in the island, so they need to ship it to mainland to be dealt with. And obviously, so the transportation is based on fossil fuels emissions. So one of the use cases on decarbonizing the transport sector and exploring different vectors from the energy field linked to heat, waste, and so on is also a pretty relevant target here in Amman. Then Terceira, well, I need a couple of arrows to show you where Terceira is. So is that middle island over there in the central archipelago of Açores. Açores is this far from Portugal, let's say halfway between Lisbon and New York. They have a population of 55,000 people, but in the summer months, they have a lot of abroad citizens, especially in Canada and the US, and the population of the island during summer months can easily triple. What they do have in Terceira is, and also linking them to our main goals on decarbonization, they have a lot of wind, a lot of water, and geothermal power. Pretty similar to Iceland on that way. So the legacy assets that we do have there and that will somehow link to IANOS through the IVPP, that will promote pretty straightforward and easily integration of our own assets, the assets we are developing within the project, and legacy assets. So in Terceira, these legacy assets are a geothermal power plant, a wind farm, and a battery energy storage system. When I say, and I mentioned the same for Amman, when I say battery energy storage system, I'm referring to grid assets, so operated by DSOs. Okay, so now providing you an overview of the physical technologies, let's say, more hardware-based, obviously orchestrated by the IVPPA, but this is the general architecture of the project. So we will have the IVPP, a software-based solution that we will implement in both islands. Within the IVPP, we follow the modular approach. We have different models dedicated to trading, peer-to-peer trading, data analytics, investment plan. But on controlling and orchestrating the operation of the power system infrastructure available at the islands, we have mainly this physical and virtual integration layer featuring a wide variety of assets. So that's the way we cope to an easy integration of legacy assets and advanced or innovative assets we are developing and deploying. And then obviously we push for extensive communication interface and this operative orchestration toolkit that will allow us to or provide advisory tips to dispatch centers and to DSOs towards taking the best of this flexibility harvesting from the different flexible assets deployed. Briefly, in terms of highlights on hardware-based solutions, I will mention probably the hybrid transformer that we'll deploy in Terceira. So we have solutions deployed in different segments of the electric power and energy system, from residential end users, so behind-the-meter assets, to distribution grid assets, key assets like power transformers, then flywheels, more connected to privately owned or operated, more connected to the decarbonization of industrial loads, and then we will also have big scale and distributed generation assets. So again, this hybrid transformer, it's a pretty standard transformer with a pretty innovative add-on afterwards. So we call it a distributed voltage regulator based on power electronics. And what this regulator does, so it's independent phase control, and also provides reactive power compensation and delivers a stepless voltage regulation approach in distribution networks. So this hybrid transformer is will be installed in secondary substation where the entire energy community in Terceira is linked to. So we most often have problems in distribution networks where we have high penetration of distributed PV. We do have voltage problems. The innovative aspect of this transformer is that this stepless voltage regulation will deliver more set points to try to deal with those voltage deviations in the entire distribution network. Then we will also have a tidal kite that will be deployed at Amman. It's an underwater kite covering a large harvesting area perpendicular to the tidal flows. This is a generation asset that it was advanced within the project and will be deployed at Amman. Also in Terceira for industrial load, which is a dairy products factory or manufacturer. They have a pretty sensitive process on milk treatment, and this process is sensitive to voltage sags and frequency instability. The flywheel will be deployed within the premises of this industrial facility, so bridging their sensitive electric processes with the power substation powering them. And here the most innovative aspect is like this hubless rotor solution with magnetic bearings in vacuum. But what we are mainly targeting here is that to add this inertia on the link will kind of buffering their infrastructure from the main power source, which is the primary substation, and helping them go through those instabilities without actually minoring their sensitive process in-house. Then on the different models that we will deploy at residential premises, we have most probably these are the two main innovative assets. So we will have bio-based selling batteries with an high recycling potential and free from lithium and cobalt. Those will be installed at Amman, and a phase change material heat battery that will be deployed in the energy community in Terceira. So I guess these are the main highlights. I will now show you what will happen in each of our islands. So this is a list of all the assets developed within the project that will be deployed in Amman, and these are the use cases linked to those 3 transition tracks that they will be exploring. Then these are the list of assets that will be deployed in Terceira. And again, almost all use cases are covered, apart from 6, 7, and 8, more linked to these waste stream, heat grids, something that they don't have the need to address as a priority in Terceira, but they do have in Amman. And then our fellow islands, their approach is pretty common, but looking into different scopes of the project. So some of them will look into the high replicability of our use cases, but they are mainly contributing or being involved towards these master plans to decarbonize their economies and their energy systems. So Lampedusa will study the feasibility of some of our use cases. These are their targets at 2023. Bora Bora is mainly accessing the replicability potential of these different solutions, technical solutions tested in IANOS. So not so keen on looking into the outcomes of the use cases, but to the particular results achieved with the demonstration of the technical solutions. And in INSULAE, they will follow up IANOS outcomes and evaluate the potential scale up of some of the technologies. Since in Greece, for example, they do have other contexts when compared to, especially to Amman. So they have these
net metering process, and then slightly undermine the need for residential storage, unless obviously for self-consumption maximization. So they are mainly focused on the potential scale up of some of the technology that we are deploying, since especially for big assets, we are mainly talking about medium scale solutions, not the exact installed power that we will be needing in the future for these complex systems that we found in geographical islands. So briefly on the highlights of our project. So as I am mentioning, we are reaching the beginning of the demonstration and monitoring phase. So I guess in a year or so, I'll expect to be here or another colleague showing already some results from our demonstrations. But these are the major highlights of the project. So design and test, highly replicable advancements in smart energy systems, since this is the main driven towards decarbonization promoted by IANOS. So smart and orchestrated approach on electric systems management, leveraging from strong flexibility harvesting. Then conventional and innovative technologies, again, legacy assets and advanced technologies will be fully integrated by our IVPP, which then perform the optimal management of these resources. And the 9 use cases will be demonstrated in 2 lighthouse islands, Alma and Teixeira, and their replicability potential will be followed up by our fellow islands. And yeah, I guess these last highlights summarizes what we are aiming to achieve at the end of the project, which is light up a beacon to other geographical islands and generally to EU on putting some attention and bringing the islands to the center of this discussion, because the particular context that they present are insane living labs, sandboxes where we can test solutions that need to cope already to their harsh operational environments, and later on roll out and scale them up and find a way to integrate these solutions across Europe. So I guess that's it from my side. This is our social media. Make sure you follow us if you want to get exclusive access to incoming results and so on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eduardo. I think you are working really on a wide range of technology and solution. It's really interesting. I have a more question for you. I've seen in the tool you are also implementing LCA, LCC aspects. Have you developed a database of life cycle assessment and costs of different technologies, or how does it work?
Yeah, so we have experienced partners working on that. So these LCC and LCA are a particular model of the IVPP. So what we did in the previous part of the project, we have been collecting relevant data from legacy assets mainly. Then the next stage was obviously linked to the TRL advancement of the innovative solutions. So we also collected that relevant data from the technologies that we are actually advancing within the project. And so these 2 data sets will be the base, or will feed in these LCC and LCA analysis that we will frame within this IVPP general approach. But I'll say this, or I'll highlight this difference, because we just had the presentation from Bruno on INSULAE. So their IPT as a more oriented approach to investment. In IANOS, we are mainly focused on operation. So the LCC and LCA analysis are linked to stick to the life cycle of the technologies itself, and will provide you some highlights on this replicability potential and upscaling potential of different technologies.
Thank you. That's useful that you are also creating knowledge on these for the specific innovative technology that you are working on, because the standard databases for LCA are full of data on PV, wind, geothermal, etc. But maybe with innovative technology, you are creating additional knowledge.
Yes, I guess leveraging on because this experience brought by the technical partners involved is mainly capitalizing in previous European projects they were taking part, and then obviously on these preliminary advancements that we are contributing with and innovations, also contributing to create more data and maybe make it available.
Very interesting. Thank you, Eduardo. Is there any other question for Eduardo, Janos?
Yes, please.
Petros.
Yeah, I saw that you have really interesting low TRL technology. So if let's which one is the most challenging, do you think, to implement?
The most challenging, obviously, is linked to the H2 value chain that we were supposed to implement in Amman, because some of the assets, and that's a particularity on IANOS, some of the assets, so we have these legacy assets, innovative assets, and we also have assets coming from private-owned investments, so independent from the project. But we somehow managed to integrate them in our concept. But yeah, so in the past years, we have been struggling with some uncertainty due to COVID, war, value chains were disrupted. So this hydrogen value chain in Amman, which was supposed to include a digester, electrolyzer based on to produce green H2, leveraging from PV, will be the most demanding part of our implementation, I guess.
Thanks again, Eduardo. And please, Petros, Daphne can present the Re-Empower project and Kitnos experience.
Yes.
With the time.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I have a problem here. I have like 20 minutes, but 50 slides. So, but I want to keep the time as promised to Georgia, so I will be fast. So, in fact, I want to present a Re-Empower project, but I'll do it in a different way. I'll focus on the pilot. So, go through a small journey about the pilot that we have selected and how we finally went to Re-Empower project. So, okay, let's go fast. So, Daphne Network is a network of sustainable Greek islands, local 52 island municipalities and 4 regional authorities. We provide technical support in all aspects: energy, water management, waste management, mobility, etc. Like we participate in European project, we're also a member of the INSULAE project together with Riga and some others. And I think it's important now to state that all this decarbonization, island decarbonization funding coming from the EU right now has been a great demand from the island local authorities for many years. I mean, it's like we've seen these innovation calls lately, like in the last 5 years, let's say, but the islanders across Europe are working, demanding more funding for the decarbonization of their systems and more resources for this, like since many years. And we're happy to announce that we're part of the Clean Energy for EU Islands Secretariat that is run by the European Commission to promote decarbonization of islands. Right now, there's a call for 30 islands to go fully renewable by 2030. The call is closing on September 6th. So you can mobilize your island contacts and so on to take part in this procedure. So, Kitnos Island. Kitnos is a small island in Greece. The population is around 1,500 people. It's 2 hours by boat from the mainland. And it has a peak demand of around 3 megawatt, a thermal station consuming diesel oil with 5 megawatt capacity. The average cost of electricity is a bit more than 200 euros per megawatt hour, and there is a bit less than 300 kilowatts PV, and also a wind turbine that's in the last years out of order. So, okay, so you can see some pictures like to get the idea. The interesting thing with Kythnos is that for decades it has been a place where a test bed for innovative renewable energy technologies. So, but this history has stopped and is currently divided through three projects. So you can see the story here. Sorry, Giorgio, which is the laser?
Yes, here.
This one, okay, thanks. In 1982, they had the installation of the first wind park in Europe. 11 kilowatt wind turbines were installed on the island. Then we had the 100 kilowatt PV system, replacement of the wind turbines, a new large wind turbine, fully automated intelligent power system, shutting down the thermal station, a small off-grid microgrid. So we have an off-grid island that includes a small off-grid microgrid in a part of it. And then gradually all this innovation that was really important started shutting down. The wind park, the wind turbine, all this automated power system. And then we have after almost 15 years, we have a revival of this trajectory through the WASGrid Horizon project and then the Kythnos Smart Island proposal. And going nowadays to the Green Power project. So Kythnos Smart Island was one of the first projects. And you know what we see is that islands are more, and islanders are much more positive to talk about energy when they first listen about their other problems, because they are much more concerned about water management, they're much more concerned about waste management and mobility on the island. So our approach was to tell them that, of course, we have to tackle the clean energy transition on the island, but we will do this by an integrated approach, trying to create synergies and sector coupling between all those different activities on the island. So we have, at this project, we have multiple activities, including also wastewater management, transport, mobility, street lighting, and of course, buildings and public space. So regarding there are some activities, including demand response and PVs together with batteries in some buildings, and also an upgrade of the small microgrid that was installed. I will go back to it with more details. We have electrification of the fleet, of the municipal fleet, and we also have installation of publicly available EV charging stations. But as you know, the islands have high seasonality due to tourism. So in order to cover the extra demand that is caused during the summer months, we decided that we should cooperate with the private sector. So we went to restaurants and hotels and installed also EV chargers there. As I told you, the municipality also is electrifying its fleet gradually. It's very interesting, the story about these small vehicles, which are used for garbage collection. You know, small islands have very small streets where, you know, normal garbage trucks cannot enter. So these electrical vehicles are really good for entering the small streets, going to restaurants that are scattered, you know, in the traditional places of islands, and collecting the garbage, the waste from there. Then we have this smart marina concept that was first presented in, I think it was SMILE project, another Horizon project in Samso Island in Denmark, and we also incorporated in Kythnos Island, where we have another integration of different things. We have PVs and batteries installed in the marina building. We have smart pillars for electricity and water for the yachts, which have a smart energy management system to optimize the energy demand, new street lighting, EV chargers, and so on. And of course, public space retrofitting. We have heat pumps installed in schools and other municipal buildings, and so on, and also some regeneration projects. Smart lighting, waste management, water management, and there's For example, they use desalination units because they don't have enough water on the island, so they need to create water from the seawater, and the desalination units are always a great flexible load if you want to increase rest penetration or to balance the system, the grid. You can use it like in times of high renewable generation to have the desalination plant working at full force and use it differently when the grid has difficulty to respond. So that was the Keystone Smart Island system. It was focused on like more on the demand side, on sector coupling and so on. So where are we? Okay, it's good. But then we also needed, something a large scale and renewable energy unit to like take the bulk of the generation of the island and turn it to and increase the rest penetration. So for that we asked help from NESOI together with the owner of this of the wind turbine. We had a great cooperation with NESOI. In total, 13 projects all around the Greek islands that were supported by us. And this one, in Kynos, this is the wind turbine that is not working since 2005, I think. And it's really a pity to have this infrastructure there and not really being able to take advantage of it. So, what was the problem? The problem was double. First of all, the wind turbine was here, and here is the capital of the island, right next to it, the main settlement of the island. So the problem was that when it was first installed, there was no regulation about the minimum distance that you have to have from the settlements. So it was okay to put it there. But now, if you want to repower this and start working again, you have to do it like based on the new regulation that says that you have to have like 500 meters distance or 1,000 kilometers from traditional settlements. So to repower this, we have to move it to a new location. First problem. Second problem, in the Greek islands, the grid has limits for renewable generation. They say the DSO says that we can't incorporate more because it will destabilize the system. So there is right now a cap of 600 kilowatts for wind turbines. But the smaller wind turbine that we can have right now in the commercial types are around 900. I mean, there are also the smaller ones around 100 and so on. But the medium to big size one are 900 kilowatts. So again, there is a problem with the capacity that it's more than the maximum capacity the island can take. So what we thought there was to also use a battery behind the meter for the wind turbine to increase rest penetration. So these are the results from the studies that were made, and that shows that the curtailment is really reduced when we're having a bigger battery, but the hours don't really play that are not so important. So it's the rated power of the battery that really makes a difference to increase curtailment, rather than the energy capacity. Meaning that it will be more used for energy balancing during the day. So, and there we go to, we hope, right now we hope to have funding. That's the main issue, as Luigi presented earlier, to also be able to do this repowering of the wind turbine. But now we also come to Repower project, which is a really special case. It comes from the call that has to do with the collaboration between Europe and India. And there, the goal is to develop and demonstrate solutions for energy transition of island and weakly connected energy systems based on microgrids exploiting multiple energy vectors. It develops 10 tools that are used in a different way. So we have the EcoEMS, which is like a high-level energy simulation planning tool. We have the Eco Microgrid, which is a tool that is in real time managing small microgrids in a safe and environmental friendly way. We have EcoDR, which is in fact a smart meter and a load controller. In case, for example, that we have a frequency or voltage drop in a small microgrid, this load controller is able to shut down some devices to help the system withstand this difficult period of time. We have the Eco Converter, that is a power electronic converter, again for microgrids. Eco Vehicle, which is a vehicle charger that is developed by the Indian partners. The Eco Planning tool, which is again a bit like the Eco EMS, but for longer periods, like more spread in the time, and for long-term projections. Eco Community, which is a digital platform, also including an application for energy communities that want to monitor their consumption and adapt to the renewable production. Eco Resilience, which is also coming from India as a need, because they have all their infrastructure to be able to withstand hurricanes, strong winds, strong rains, and so on. So designing the infrastructure in a way that is really resilient to this extreme weather. Eco Monitor, which is for water and air quality monitoring. You've seen many pictures, I guess, from New Delhi and so on, that it's something that they also really need. And Eco Platform, that is like a platform interoperable with all the other tools, or most of them, with the aim to gather data and create a common database for all this. So there are 4 pilot sites. We have Bornholm Island in Denmark, Kythnos Island in Greece, Goramara and Kionja in India. Yes, we're looking forward to going to India for a project meeting. And regarding Kythnos, we have two pilot sites. It's the Kythnos power system as a whole, which is an off-grid island, like with 3 megawatts peak demand, as I told you, and also the Geographical microgrid, which is an off-grid microgrid inside the island. Regarding the power system, you can see that the EMS, all these tools, the EMS, the Eco Monitor, and the Eco Planning, are going to do simulations in order to provide the perfect energy mix, both for long-term and for short-term operation of the system. And we will also have monitoring of the air quality of the island, near to the thermal station of the island that consumes diesel. And then we have the Roma microgrid, which is like, this is like a small-scale situation here. In fact, it's comprised by 15 houses that are run only by PVs, batteries, and they also have a small generator as a backup. But it's really nice to try new technologies there that could be then upscaled and used in other situations. So we'll have smart loads, we have load controllers in every house. There's a unique architecture that allows the batteries to communicate with the PV inverters and the load controllers based on the frequency of the system. So if there's another frequency, the load controllers shut down some loads so that the system can be okay and restore the storage back to an acceptable level. Or if there is over frequency, meaning that the batteries are full and the PVs are still progressing, there's a signal to the PV inverters to lower their generation. And there will also be a small wind turbine constructed. It's already installed there, and it's supposed to be used also in India. It's and supposed to be easily built by local communities and local technicians. So to close with a nice, let's say, image, this was the wind turbine. We've got, so we have like, okay, we have to show the video maybe.
Ah, yes, of course.
Yeah, can you play? Ah, okay, thanks.
Was there also an audio?
There was some music. It's fine.
Okay.
should sing the Petros. We have no music.
We don't want to do that. Okay, so that's all.
Made of wood, right?
Sorry?
Made of wood.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's all. Thanks a lot. If you want to know more about the Empower project, you can look at the website or keep on Smart Island too. And thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you very much, Petros. It's been a really interesting presentation. I don't know if there is any question from the audience, otherwise I have one. Nothing online. Okay. So my question for you is, I don't even recall how many Greek islands we have worked together on energy transition projects. Which is your favorite one, not for holidays, but in terms of their plans for energy transition, and why?
Yeah, it's true that because it has been really a great opportunity for us, like to promote multiple projects, and they were all different ones based on tailor-made approach that you also mentioned, which is like the most important for islands. You can't. It's not like the cities where the same thing usually works. Islands are really different from one another, and so on. So one of my favorites was the Tesla NESOI project about the it's in Antiparos Island. And the concept there was electrifying the fleet and the vehicles together, the municipal vehicles, and the ferries that connect Antiparos Island to Paros Island. It's like a short connection of 15 minutes, and it's feasible to electrify it and use EVs to charge the batteries. So that was a really interesting project that included also both the municipality and the private entity, that was the ferry owners. And it was a really interesting approach for an ecosystemic energy transition. And we also had the opportunity to go together to Antiparos.
Yes, although in winter, it was February, but it was nice.
We were alone on the island, but it was really nice.
Thank you, Petro. Thank you. So we can move to the next presentation, which is MAESHA. We have Juan from Treara, who will present the project and specifically the experience in Mayotte and in other islands. So this one for yours.
Hello everyone, my name is Juan Baro. I work in Treara Energy Expert, which is a consulting firm based here in Madrid. In the MAESHA project, we're involved in the electric vehicle deployment, specifically in the hardware development. And then also we coordinate work participation, which is related to interoperability. Basically, I'm not a specific communication partner or anything. So some of your questions, might go a little bit over my head. But if you don't have any question, I can basically get it to the appropriate partners and I'll get it solved. Okay, so first project highlights, a little bit in a nutshell. What is MAESHA? It started in November 2020. It's an innovation project from the Horizon 2020 call. It has nearly 12 million budget and basically aims to create a replicable model of a smart energy system. It was expected to end in October 2024, even though we are considering to ask for an extension. Well, basically, as some of the other speakers have already said, geographical islands have a high dependency today on expensive and polluting fossil fuels, and it will be impossible to fulfill the 230 and 250 goals if we don't decarbonize geographical islands. Basically, why we carry out this project is because renewable energies are key for this decarbonization, and as also I heard other speakers mention, they have been asking for this support for a while now. So basically, the project will be, the pilot island will be Mayotte, which with already been there and have been with an ongoing effort for the last few years. This is a French territory, which is located in the Comoro archipelago. The specificities of this archipelago are that basically they used to be French islands, all of them, but then the rest of the archipelago got independent, and the only French island remaining is Mayotte, which poses significant issues with immigration and so on. Well, basically about the consortium, it's 21 partners from 9 different countries. Well, as you can see, most of them based in continental Europe, even though we have some all around the world, specifically the replication islands, which will be San Barnes, Gran Canaria, Mayotte. I think Wallis and Fortuna will no longer be a replication island, both and Fabiana will, and then we incorporated Madeira to make up for Wallis and Fortuna, who didn't want to take part in the connection anymore. Right, so as for the introduction, European islands face serious threats and great challenges today. So as we've already seen, high dependency of fuels, vulnerable grids, high costs of energy, low share of renewables, and low market liquidity in renewable energy systems are some of them. To face this, basically the solutions that we propose are local renewable energy integration, flexibility options, incentives for prosumers and self-consumption, high energy efficiency, and tailored energy markets. Well, basically, as a fun fact, MAESHA and INSULAE in Seagull, which just became first. The main objectives of the project, since decarbonizing the energy system in Mayotte, are fostering the large deployment of renewable energy sources, basically PV, installing tailored innovative flexibility service, and studying and modeling the local energy systems and community structures. So basically, this will be done for Mayotte, specifically having technology deployed on the island, and then for the replication sites, which are the ones that you can see on the bottom, the case studies will be set up, but no technology will be deployed. Okay, so how we plan to decarbonize the energy system of these geographical islands? So basically, as I said before, the large renewable scale renewable energy sources deployment, smart platform aggregating flexibility services that will be developed also within the project, creation of synergies between energy vectors, involvement of local communities, tailored energy markets and regulatory frameworks, and then the demonstration of the solution and study of the replicability in the following islands. This will be done through 12 work packages and over 48 months, even though I already said that we're considering an extension. The overall approach is the following. So work package 1 and 2 were the technical requirements. So basically setting up the architecture for the smart grid, modeling also the energy systems and performance forecasting. Then work packages 3 and 4 dealt with the user-centered approach. As it was also mentioned, for these kind of technologies to be or to get a great engagement from the community, they need to take into account their needs. For example, one of the things that we found first is that the use cases that we have developed that were basically really focused on the technical side. For example, it was voltage control, frequency control, renewable energy implementation, peak shaving, so on. Didn't encompass, for example, the energy access one. And we have an island where most of the people live in metal sheet housing and they already have access to electricity. So, of course, we have to encompass that, and that was found out basically on work package 3 through a series of interviews with the different communities. And then work package 4 dealt with the energy market and business models, which also encompass the different communities and had to do work on the ground. Then the technology developments were work packages 5, 6, and 7. The first one dealt with enhanced the grid flexibility, so basically technologies for developing, for example, virtual inertia and so on. Then work package 6 dealt with more hands-on technologies. So, for example, we were talking about batteries to be deployed in the island for fast response, power to hydrogen, also electric vehicle deployment, PV coupling with the electric vehicle. Then work package 7 basically is the development of the communication and control platform. This is what we call the FMTP, the Flexibility Management Trading Platform, which aggregates all the different flexibility offers and the flexibility bids, and basically provides the information to the different assets to encompass the market. Now, work package 8, which is the one that we lead, is the system integration and validation. Basically, this is the testing of all the components. We have component testing, we have interoperability testing, and then on-site testing in MAESHA. And then for the real environment testing, which will be work package 9 and 10. First, work package 9 deals with the demonstration and deployment in the island, and then work package 10 is the replicability study for the boat. The multi-axis approach that I was mentioning. So basically, you have virtual power plants. We actually have two now: one large-scale virtual power plant and one small scale. We have community self-consumption with different local energy communities that were pretty difficult to set up, basically because they don't fit the energy community definition that we have here in continental Europe. Then we have industrial and residential energy management and flexibility services, smart charging and B2G, as I already mentioned, hybridization of PV production with EV charging, technologies to provide virtual inertia, battery storage, and power hydrogen. All these done with the user-centered approach that I already mentioned, and through energy modeling of the market business models and so on. Outlook on the expected impacts that could look a little different. We're seeing now, but basically it's the enhancement of the stability of the power grid, increasing the percentage of access to electricity by more than 30%, green tourism development in MAESHA by 20%, full decarbonization of the transports in sector in MAESHA by 2040, reduction of greenhouse gas emissions of 60% by 2030, and then 5 follower islands with in-depth replicability studies. So basically, the current status of the project, the architecture is fixed for MAESHA, solution loss, some solutions lost meaning due to island specificity. So for example, here we're talking about power to hydrogen. So basically, they generate their power using two diesel cycles, and they don't have any surplus of renewable energy. So basically, what we realized when we got there is that the hydrogen produced wouldn't be green, and thus didn't make any sense. However, the solution was developed technically, and perhaps would make sense for other islands, which could be bigger, for example, Gran Canaria, and would have surplus in a certain moment. The solution development is being finalized. We have all solutions developed except for some of the virtual platforms that proved to be a little bit more difficult than we anticipated. The testing phase is ongoing, so we've started to set up the component testing based on the smart grid interoperability testing methodology developed by the smart grid interoperability testing facility or laboratory from the JRC. We start with component testing, then go on to the interoperability testing virtually with the different solutions and see how they communicate, and then with our full-scale testing. Deployment is already being planned. So basically, first materials will arrive at the island probably by September. So, for example, the electric vehicle charging points will start to be set up by then, and we expect them to be commissioned by December. So that would probably be the first solutions to be deployed. Basically, because the battery will take a little bit longer due to procurement periods. As I said, as a transport to the island is being coordinated, partners must get their equipment to the port of Rouen in France by mid-July, so it can get to MAESHA by September. And then a project extension is being considered, having additional time will allow to carry out a implementation more thoroughly and also translate into better support for the applicants. And also, given that we have taken the power to hydrogen solution out, there's some remaining budget there that we wanted to also use. Key lessons learned here are the adaptability, basically. Even though projects are carefully planned, islands have specific characteristics that hamper standardized solutions deployment. Being able to take these specificities into account and consequently, the project is key to achieving the expected impact. So basically, yeah, we tend to design most of the projects based on what we have here in continental Europe, standardized solutions are deployed easily, but then when you arrive to the island, it presents other conditions that must be taken into account. Then local partners are really, really important. So here we deal with EDM, which is Electricity de Mayor. It's like a subsidiary from EDF. They are publicly participated, but they are also private participants. So basically, that poses some issues. But they have been quite engaged with the project, even though they lack a little bit of the resources. So that has also, given that we are 20 companies asking one of them for information, it was a little bit hard. But yeah, they have the knowledge of the island, they understand the specificities, and they help us get to the people and so on. And this brings me to the last one, which is the on-site management. We've seen that in order to get the engagement from the community, you need to go there for them to see you, to see that you are interested in their projects and on basically providing these services. And that's what activates the community there and what leads to have fruitful discussions, because trying to get them by email, for example, and so on, is basically impossible. And I think this will be all. Yeah. I don't know if you have any questions, happy to answer them.
Well, thank you for the presentation. So I guess this, compared to other projects that we have been seeing here, the key point will be your long way from Europe. So you focus adaptation needed. And so is the integration phase already going on, and how you found difficulties and challenges on that integration so far? And then in a different environment, we also mentioned that, for example, the household construction is not pretty much comparable to Europe, and you expect, since you have a lot of end users without electricity access, it is expected that in the coming years this starts to raise, and how your project is addressing these challenges.
Yeah, so addressing your first question, basically we have found issues in every solution that we've tried to deploy. So for example, the local energy communities have been really hard to set up. Basically because they don't really fit the, as I already said, the definition of an energy community that we have here, but also by so much more things. For example, we wanted to deploy, and we have a budget of, I think it was nearly 100,000 euros or 150,000 euros for PV panels and so on. The thing is that on one side, the way that they basically manage the PV production there is through private companies, so EDM wouldn't be able to basically manage that because they don't do that. So in the end, that got lost because no other partner was interested in taking over that, because also here, since it's an innovation action, technologies to be deployed are only to be amortized through the years of the project and not the full cost. So basically, there was no continental European partner interested in managing that. Also happened with, I don't know, for example, the electric vehicle. They also said that they wanted to lease for Nissan vehicles, but of course, there's no dealer that wants to lease 4 vehicles in Mayotte, because if they have to basically fix them or whatever, it doesn't make any sense. We now have to turn to buying the vehicles. And for example, EDM said that they could afford that because it's not contemplated in the project. But in the end, they said that it doesn't make any sense because they would be spending like 100,000 or more euros on this, and they have a lot of other technologies to fund because they have to cover that over 40% that we were talking about. So basically, everything has been an issue, but you have to basically manage it. And then regarding your second question, not only R&D funds are being targeted to these kind of islands. We saw when we went there that there's a lot of infrastructures being developed right now. Basically, this island only has one road that goes all around the island and has 2 ways. So it's pretty messy, and you can basically have an idea on the infrastructure level that they have. But you can see they basically putting the power lines on the ground and everything. So we expect that in a couple of years they will be able to intake a lot.
You did mention it as a lessons learned and this adaptation process. I guess that one of the major outcomes that MAESHA will lead there is also linked to knowledge passing and training to empower.
Yeah, for sure. That's one of the things that we want to do also, because when we arrive to this island, and also when you deal with islands that are more close to continental Europe, for example, you were talking about Menorca and so on, those are more in line with what we expect, even though they are not connected to the continental grid. But yeah, basically this is kind of more close to how Africa would work.
Really raise the bar for the challenge.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, let's see if we can have some lessons learned that we pass on to other projects.
Indeed, Eduardo stole my question, which was,
Sorry.
no, thanks for asking. I think this topic is also connected to the initiative by IRENA on small islands and developing states, which are more applicable to this context, but it's nice to have also European projects working on that. So thanks for this. And we have a question also from Fausto. Please, Fausto.
What was the tools or procedure you used for the engagement, the actual ones?
Yeah, basically it was going to the municipalities, and what we saw, for example, first time I went there, so the project kicked off around, I think it was June or something like that, and I went there for the first time on October because we needed to have some information about the locations for the charging points, and we weren't receiving them from EDM because they weren't receiving them from the municipalities. So the only alternative that we had was to fly to the island, which is something that you have to do during the weekend, and you have to use 2 days because there's only one flight, so it's pretty messy. But yeah, basically getting there and talking to the responsible from the municipality, to energy planners and so on, and asking them for this information, presenting the project basically, because also they get this information. Another great barrier was the language barrier, because they speak French, and even the people from the municipalities won't speak or understand English. So we have to go there with a translator. Of course, all materials are generated in English, so when you forward them to municipalities, they don't even read them. First effort was to present the project and to make them understand what they could achieve by participating, and then basically engaging a little bit more with them and writing emails directly.
Sorry. Did you manage to get some technicians in case failures happens from the islands or not?
Okay, so basically, as we have EVM there, for example, for the EV charging points deployment, there won't be qualified personnel there, but what we'll do is we'll go there, carry out a training program for EVM personnel, and then we'll support them if they have any issues after commissioning.
Please, Cecilia, another question?
Just a comment about MAESHA. The difference I see between working on Mayotte and on other EU islands, it's the social context. Really Mayotte, I'm French, so I'm familiar. It's like really Mayotte has a really terrible social crisis with the slums that are like demolished at the moment, and it's very it's really difficult, I think, to do whatever you want to do there. So I was, I think it's an interesting case as well, because there will be like what's happened, if you're not on the path, like Greek island, how does the things really develop if you have to face this social crisis context as well. So I don't know how difficult, how like close to this social issues, social problem to you.
Basically, we have to learn a lot more from them, because for the local energy communities, as I mentioned, we were basically planning them as they are defined here in Europe, or in continental Europe, but then we weren't getting any engagement. So in the end, what we did was looking more into, for example, social housing projects that they were carrying out, because as you said, they are demolishing these slums, and they are constructing some social housing. But this is not ready yet, so they have some temporary social housing already built in place, which is made of containers and so on. But also then you deal with things that don't really make much sense, because these containers that are the social housings are thought for maybe 2 families, so 6 people will be in each container, and they only have 1 plug in the container. And for example, partners that deal more with the humanitarian issues and social issues and so on were saying that it made sense to put a charging point in their, basically on the doorstep. And for us, it didn't make any sense because there was no business model there. And also it would similarly be, I don't know, out of context for them only to have one plug and then to put a charging point at their doorstep. It's like put another plug inside. Maybe we can charge our phones and not for electric vehicle, you know. So yeah, you have to deal with that also, and the best way to do it is basically see what actions are being taken in the island and try to follow them and to encompass them into the project. Okay.
Thanks a lot, Juan.
Thanks.
Also for answering a lot of questions we had from the audience. Thanks. It's nice to have participated in the workshops. I come back before leaving the floor to Fausto for the last presentation to your homework, because we have some people joining us after the beginning of the workshop. So we have a couple of surveys for you. I ask you to go to menti.com and use this code. You can take a photo to the slide if you want. And the very last part of the workshop, but I think it will be like 5 minutes, will be reading and commenting your answers to this survey. So please take advantage of what you have heard this morning during the different presentation and try to provide some answers so we can briefly discuss them at the end.
It's not active, the first one.
Oh, sorry. This could be a barrier.
Yes.
What should I do? Okay, this should be active now. And hopefully also the other one. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I invite Fausto to present the React project. Thank you very much, Fausto. The floor is yours.
George, just be careful if we go over, we'll miss the close.
Oh, yes, we need to close at 12:30 sharp. Yes.
Right. It's been very nice to see the sister projects from React today, presented some of them. So that was very necessary to not just to read the information on the web, but to actually listen to it live. I know you're very tight, so I will be quite happy to shorten my presentation. And the last thing is React is finishing in 2 weeks' time, so there is plenty of results you can check later on the website and social media, etc., etc. Some of the projects like MAESHA or the other, for the name, you are still in the middle or at the beginning, but in the case of React, we are already gone at the, as I said, at the end. And as you know, all the results come at the very end, especially the academic ones. Oops. Okay. So basically, what are the motivation for React are the same for the sister projects. I'm not going to go over this because we just know all about the greenhouse gases and how we need to get the island independence, etc., etc. And in React, we have 3 pilot islands, which are very small size islands, which are La Graciosa, Inismore, which is in the Arana Archipelago, and also San Pietro, which is a small island of Sardinia. So the idea for the project basically is to make, in this case, islands independence, and also to try to do some scalability to further islands, which are the further islands, which are Mallorca, Gotland, Isle of Wight, Reunion, and Lesbos. So part of it also intended to create local energy communities. That is something that, funny enough, we are managing right now at the end of the project. So the technologies we use, I'm going to talk now about technologies, is the battery storage. So we use energy storage systems that have started to play a very significant role in our electric power systems. And battery is a key element to enable energy transition. Because as you know, with the time scale, and also this happens in these 3 islands, we have the same problem as we mentioned before, with the double or multiplication or quadruple the population during summertime, summer periods. So although some of the islands are connected to the grid, then to the other mainlands are also a small, well, relatively other islands, we need to do some storage for that. And the power cuts has been one of the problems in all 3 islands mentioned by the residents. So this is an important thing. So, well, the energy trilemma PV battery perspective is this one. So we have energy security. So we will increase. We have increased the self-sufficiency between 30, 40 to actually 60, 70. Gaining or obtaining or achieving an uninterrupted power supply in terms of grid failures. As I say, grid failures in these small islands are one of the main concerns. And also with the achieving increased power grid stability. Energy equity, it means that the battery prices have fallen since 2010. Also, self-consumption our high privacy, private and communal participation. The question is that we didn't do the whole island, although we tried to do energy communities. We only managed to have private dwellings on some public spaces in all 3 islands, but they are not. We didn't do the whole island in any other cases. And also, we're trying to get overall cost reduction and optimizing the grid operation with peak saving, stress reduction, and avoid grid expansion. Another point is environmental sustainability with less emission, waste, and higher flexibility, enabling a provision of high share of renewables. When we went to La Réunion, for example, it's in another island, this is the Followed Island, and it's on a French territory. The situation is very different because they have several renewable sources. But in a small island such as Inismore, you cannot have a hydroelectric power plant or the bio waste. So the scalability of this React project can be much easily applied to an island such as Réunion because it's got several sources of renewable energies, and this is something which is important. So the role of the batteries is the main innovation relies on the integration of the batteries within our central ICT platform, which is an ICT platform, React ICT platform actually, allowing the batteries to take part in the demand responding themselves. The battery integration by the React platform is based on open source energy management framework, which is based on OpenMAC actually, and then the existing product is app is MIDAC app. MIDAC is a battery company that creates batteries actually. And another part of the technology is the forecasting. Forecasting that includes weather, energy generation, energy consumption. So we try to get the users, and remember that these are individual users, to think about what are going to be in the next hours and the next days, what are they going to be their consumption and their energy generation. And according to that, they accommodated their consumption and the production. So this is a diagram of the actual the project. So the cloud goes to the gateway, then you have the terminal loads, the sources, etc. You can see that later on. So the hydrogen storage is another of the tools we have used. This has been used in Naran Island. Correct me, my friend and colleague Dayan Coretti, she knows better than I actually. So you can address the technical questions of her later on. So the hydrogen is not a primary energy source itself, but a storage and transportable energy vector, as you all know probably. It has a high energy value per mass unit, reaching 120 joules per kilogram, and much more than traditional fuels, but being much lightweight. This allows storing a relevant amount of energy with mass within a reservoir volume. The hydrogen tool was installed in the recycling plant, correct, in Inismore, because Inismore has got a recycling plant. Even though it is a very small island, they managed to recycle, I don't remember very well, but quite a lot of their waste. And they even produce some useful materials for roads, as I remember correctly. So the hydrogen was installed there. And as I said, they are not connected, but all the installations in all the 3 islands are individual, but they pretend to become self-sufficient. So, again, assisted by IANOS, the report Innovation Landscape Brief, Renewable Power to 1999, hydrogen produced with excess solar PV and wind power through water electrolysis can be stored for later use as a fuel for transport, industry, and other sectors. Hydrogen production can be used as a smart law to increase power system flexibility and help to decarbonize the overall economy. This is, as I say, the case of the waste recycling plant in Lisbon. Also, the P2H system will contribute to the REACT project's innovation goals and objectives as a new integrative and interoperable energy storage system. The P2H system will be customized to give a complete set of contributions in terms of grid support, power balance, and reduce consignment of excess VRE generation. More about the hydrogen system. Contacts with many small-scale P2H system powers providers and suppliers, achieve hydrogen compound solutions. Also choosing a supplier after pre-feasibility and technical economic assessment, CTS H2. And I don't want to bother with this. So these are the data for the energy benchmarking that shows that the sodium ion and lithium batteries are the most suitable options to be deployed at the project sites under the main REACT project objectives. This is what was done. Okay, this is what actually was done. And the REACT project we also deploy the P2H storage solution based on a patent plug and play that generation, storage, and power conversion unit to serve as a test bed for communication, interoperability, integration with interaction, and other assets for the outside. This is what we tried to do with the grid stability, because it was, although the houses were independent, they still connected to the grid. So if you have an excess generation, because, and this is also, it's important to know what are the legislation and the administrative problems in the different items. The different pace between the different 3 countries affected that, but it was okay. So the future, this is what on that, the completion of installation, a commission that works for the rest. We validate the access platform. The access platform is validated, it works. One of the main problems we found out in the project was that users was meddling with the installation. So sometimes they decided to cut off the internet, sometimes they decided to meddle with the batteries. So we did need to ask them, so please don't touch the installations because it's affects. Also the data collection, because we were to try to do some forecasting, we needed to get all the data from the energy generation and also from the consumption. So if you stop accessing us information that is going to be retrieved through the Wi-Fi, that was very good. So yeah, basically the outcomes basically are these. The actual outcomes is that we managed to get all the installations working, but there are some problems sometimes with communication between some sort of the shop. And well, this is too long to read. So the conclusions. REACT is a take or to take promises from previous smart grid and research and other activities to work around for innovation level with advanced innovative technologies. REACT did not actually generate any new power. So all was already there. The only thing we did is make the installations and also all the software that comes with the energy grid management, the demand response, the forecasting, and the application that was sent. There is an application that is actually users can use, and they get information from their particular installations, and in the future, the idea is to enlarge it, like other projects like in demand and response, so they can actually act upon the installations they have. And this is the part of the information usually is a user engagement and business model. So, yeah, well, I'm sorry, but Diane has left. So, you have to leave. These are the spaces where you can find more information. As I said, because we are rich already in the project, there are already like few scientific publications. You have all the public deliverers available there, and also will be uploaded once another. The website will be active for another 5 years because actually covered as we managed, we decided, well, it's one of the requirements, but also we say by default, all of our projects will stay, the website will stay another 5 years, so you can read all the information, the public available information on the website. And that's it. There are a couple, 3 at least more scientific publications that will be available, I suppose, by the end of the year. So there is no time for questions.
Thank you very much. Tom, we need to close it immediately, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We have 5 minutes to make it into the auditorium. Do you want to show the comments that came up?
Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So thanks, Klaus, for your presentation. It's interesting to see also the impact that energy storage can have on island, since this is expected to contribute a lot, especially on non-interconnected ones, and again, it will be replicated also in some context on the mainland. So I just share very briefly, and then I will read carefully later the results of the survey. Thanks for participating. So regarding the barriers to energy transition of island, you have mentioned social acceptance, not integrated value chain, need a large player, hard to reach and bring new technology, technical capacity, regulatory, energy resilience, skilled workers, obstacle. Okay, thank you. Can I ask who wrote this to comment a bit? Because I am quite familiar with the others, but probably, it's you, Tom. Please. So if we will be late,
Our small desk would get killed because there's always a new administration and new this and new that. It's long. You have to travel back and forth every 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Every time you travel, it's a full day. It's expensive. So really, in my mind, we're bumped into by some of these large players that are interested, of course, in energy communities and islands. And I can just see so quickly that we get completely wiped off the map by a big player that can come in with 3 million, 5 million, 10 million, their solution, and it has to be integrated. All these things we're doing in these projects that take 10 different companies and try to put together. No, it doesn't work. And we've got 400 people interested in the energy community at Carlo Forte, and we have 30 or 40 in our pilot. And our stuff doesn't work well. I'm sorry, but our app is always broken, the batteries and this. It's a new project. So these excited people, they want to come and have a result that works. And we're getting our deliverables together and stuff. So it's that's a normal part of pilots. And as long as we set expectations at the beginning, that's okay. But how all of what we do gets from TRO and wherever it finishes to actually commercial and functioning, for me, it's very difficult. I don't see it yet.
Right. Thank you, Tom. So probably there is more chance of success for projects that are being implemented, for example, by the local DSO, especially when it's owned by the municipality. Okay, this could be a key. Thanks, Tom. And then I move to the other one, if it worked. Let me see. The one on the best suitable solutions. View results. Sorry for the inconvenience. Present, sorry. Participatory approach, energy community, we were mentioned, implementation of renewables. Okay. And I think more or less all of these solutions were mentioned by the project we had this morning. And so looking And reading these interesting results, we close so we can go to the plenary conclusion of the conference. Please let me thank all of you, first of all, for attending, participating to the workshop, and all the presenters for presenting these very interesting projects on islands. And let's hope to collaborate soon among our projects, and maybe see you next year at Sustainable Places. Thanks a lot.